Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros MLB. This is Leading Off Live, brought to you by Bet365. Bet $5, get 150 in bonus bets when you use the promo code Leading Off. It is me, Joey P. That, of course, is the Welsh, and we've got trade winds a-blowing. We spoke about it last week, Welsh. He said, look, the Mariners have got to be first to the market before the big boys enter the dance. And sure enough, they were. We had a no-hitter yesterday, but I want to start with the Mariners making a move. Desperate to get some help with the offense. Well, I don't know if it's too little too late, but Randy Arozarena officially now a member of the Mariners, so the Rays making some room. That's a good thing, I think, for the Rays and their lineups, but Arozarena is now going to the Seattle side of things, to the West Coast, and I think it's a great move for the Mariners. I hope it's a player that they plan to keep around for a while, because it can't just be, is Arozarena next year too, or is he a free agent at the end of the year?
No, I believe he's got 1 or 2 more years under him, so that's why
very good move then.
Some of the things in this were maybe a little bit of a question. I don't know, the trade side, like I want to even hold back. Everyone's so bitchy about like, oh, we'll trade this guy, you trade that guy, and the cost and the
Well, Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins, those were the two pieces that went.
I feel that was kind of light in a Randy Arozarena trade. I believe he's at least signed through next year. I'm not sure. I don't think it's anything beyond that. Aiden Smith has played really well this year. Hopkins gets some really good grades. He wasn't on like the big radar for everybody, even in the Mariners organization, but we know they really like them. There's already been some breakdowns. Really good fastball shape, has this really good sweeper. So it's like a classic Rays type of a trade.
2 years.
So
25, 26. Still.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's actually even
and
more.
He's 30. He's going to be 30 next year, 31 the year after. That's fantastic.
I thought that they were going to be including one of the upper prospects in a type E. Now, there is a player to be named later, and that could be a bigger piece here, of course. But, Aiden Smith is fine. Hopkins has been fine, but they didn't trade a Ty Pete. They didn't trade a Colt Emerson. They weren't going to trade on the tippy top, but like Ty Pete was the guy that I thought they would do. And Randy's been struggling this year, hitting only 211, but he's been hitting over 270 the last 2 months combined, 291 in June, 275 so far in July. 7 homers, 7 of his 15 have come in these last 2 months, month and a half or whatever it is. And we're starting to see kind of the kickback. We're starting to see him, bring back the game that we've known from Randy Arozarena. His barrel percentage is moving up, career high launch angle. And I think that's also been part of the pressing, is him getting the ball in the air. But now, like you said, like too little, too late. I don't know. This is great lineup protection for the future. It's just a great stopgap piece while they're trying to get Julio back so they can get this offense kind of revved up. But the thing, Joe, that I'm not even like surprised about, because it's so much more difficult to do than just to say, I really thought they would try to get Isaac Paredes package in this deal as well. Just do a big mega trade and really overhaul that offense. They got one piece. I think this is great.
Well, maybe they're not done. I mean, that's possible. Maybe this is just, one of many, because we know Julio's going to be out for a while with that high ankle. It's going to be a few weeks for sure. But I think it's a great move. Arozarena is a great player. He's an all-star caliber player. And now you've got a core of an offense. Like, now you can go out on the free agency and get some more pieces, and you still have this tremendous pitching staff that's going to be intact for another year next year. So this is a good move for now, a good move for the next 2 years. I absolutely love it. Also, as we said, Dylan Cease made history, a no-hitter Thursday against the Nats. He was touching 100 in the final inning. Amazing stuff. 114 pitches. He looked absolutely spectacular. And it was great. It's been a great season for Dylan Cease. 3.50 ERA, 168 strikeouts. He's going to have the Dodgers next week at home. So congratulations to him. But this wasn't the only news yesterday, too. A lot of stuff coming in. The Marlins.
Here, hold on. Before we move on, because I didn't want to move right past the Cease thing. I just want to mention two things on his actual stuff. 33% whiff rate, 55 swings through 114 pitches, 18 swing and whiffs. Ridiculous. CSW was good. Velo, slider, and fastball were up in this start, like over like a mile and a half over across the board. And this, unfortunately, there's always been some inconsistencies with Dylan Cease. Like, people complain about like, oh, there's 4-run outing, but like, this is also who he is. It's very like the Taj Bradley types. Cease is actually the pinnacle of it. He's the core player. Taj Bradley is more like the Dylan Cease type, but this is what you get sometimes from these guys. But a fun fact was Luis Arraez was the player that broke up his no-hitter whatever it was, a couple of years ago with the White Sox. Maybe it was like a year ago or two. Luis Urias was the player that got the final out for them and handed him the ball from the no-hitter. I saw them talking about that. I thought that was like a really cool, like weird, just weird thing that ended up happening.
Very baseball thing to happen.
Yeah, a very baseball thing to happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the way those things go. But I wish I had shares of Dylan Cease. It was a good trade when the Padres made it. Padres still kicking around. They're not dead yet for sure. The Marlins, they're dead. They traded AJ Puck to your Diamondbacks. So a little bit of help there in the bullpen for the D-backs. They traded Davison De Los Santos and Andrew Pintar. Now, De Los Santos has been a guy we've been talking about forever, leading the league in the minor leagues, I should say, in home runs. Did this surprise you at all that that's all it took to get, for that all they got for De Los Santos was that? Like, I guess this is the thing. The Diamondbacks must not have loved this guy in the first place. But, I mean, how do you argue with the results? I understand the Rule 5 thing, and he came back and all this stuff. It's been a weird road for him. I understand the last, couple of weeks have been a little slow. But do you think they're just going to say, hey, we got to cash in on this guy now, and Puck is enough in terms of age that we're going to give it a shot? It's kind of a weird one to me.
There's a couple things with this. So like I and this makes me, I forget sometimes because maybe I'm babied or coddled a little bit without having negativity on my timeline.
I baby you too much. I do.
You babe,
too much positivity here.
Well, the peanuts are Cracker Jacks. Everyone's so nice and stuff. I instant reacted to this trade last night because I was like, what? What? Because I've watched AJ Puck this year, but in transparency, I've watched him a lot as a starter, and he is awful as a starter. They moved him to the bullpen. So my instant reaction, just instantly reacting to it, was like, what are they doing? Davison De Los Santos has been a top 5 overall minor league hitter the entire season, the home run, and he's doing it at a really, really low age to level. So you're trading off this huge bat. Andrew Pintar is also not something to just scoff at. He's played in the infield. He could be a super util guy who can run, blah, blah, blah. And I was getting killed by people because I called Puck meh. And everyone's like, oh, I'm disappointed. You haven't looked at the. He's been awesome in July. He is one of the worst starters. There are two things I counted on early in the year, Joe. It was Sixto Sanchez. The team against him was going to score all the runs. So take the overrun total. And AJ Puck walking 3 or more. So if you got 2.5, you would always bet the over on walks because he was awful. So my instant reaction was that before looking into it, and people were just being such whiners about it. And he has been good. But to their credit, AJ Puck has been good. July, he's striking out guys. The walk numbers
he's not a starting pitcher.
Down.
That's it. Like he's
not a starting pitcher. But to the main,
you want to give up a 21-year-old power hitter for
a
bullpen guy, and I think the answer is unequivocally no to me. I think it's a bad move,
and attempting not to make it a stupid middle relief trade for the Diamondbacks into 10 minutes and stuff like that. My reaction is like,
well, you're doing a good job of that.
I am doing a very good job of it, even with Puck being good over this period of time. To trade one of the best minor league hitters for a middle relief guy, I don't like it regardless, even if Puck has been good. But to your point, I was told the Diamondbacks do not trust his defensive ability. They really didn't feel that they had a future home for him.
DH in the National League now for years.
But they didn't value the offense enough. There was also maybe like I saw a radio person out here locally talk about maybe work ethic was a question. I'm not really sure.
He's a bad kid, and like that's why they Rule 5'd him in the first place. Like I don't know the inner workings, and maybe he is. Yeah. Maybe he's the next Yoan Moncada type guy. Like I don't know. All I know is 21-year-old guys leading the minor leagues in home runs should bring you back more than a middle relief.
I completely agree, and I just want to point out the relief market is a wild, wild place. There was a rumor that Diamondbacks could have had Tanner Scott in this trade, but they didn't want a rental player. They did prioritize getting someone they had control of in Puck if they're going to give up De Los Santos. But a big point here is that relief market is going to be ridiculously stupid. So just keep an eye on it. It is going to cost more. I mean, perceivably, it seems like it costs more for AJ Puck than Randy Arozarena. You can make that argument, and that's gross. We don't know who the player to be named is here, but the relief market's stupid.
Question here from the Peanuts and Cracker Jacks from Dev Bruh. Hey guys, do you like Yamamoto or Crochet more in Dynasty? That's interesting. I like Crochet more. Welsh, how about you?
They're so close. Like, I want to say Crochet. I'm going to say probably Yamamoto at this second, but the answer might be Crochet.
Okay. More trades and things going on potentially.
We had one just happen, by the way.
What just happened?
Literally just happened. Yeah, sorry, I was going to go to that. The Phillies acquired Austin Hayes from the Orioles, and the Orioles picked up Sir Anthony Dominguez and Christian Pache. This happened in the chat like 3 minutes ago. So that was a weird like outfielder swap. Austin Hayes, though, if he's going to get regular time, there's some fantasy implications for him in Philadelphia because he's kind of buried.
That's not if you're the Phillies and you're trying to beef up, man, Austin Hayes is not the answer. Like there's got to be something else for you there. That can't be the move.
But it's also that is like the most low impact trade of all time to get someone that you can maybe put out as a starter every day.
I don't know. Philly fans are not going to be happy with that. What do you do in Austin Hayes? What kind of trade is that? It's crap. That's what it is. Blake Snell apparently getting some interest too. The Giants are kicking the tires. The Astros, one of those teams interested, actually in Jameson Taillon, and the Pirates apparently are sending some scouts to look at Jazz Chisholm Jr. I think Blake Snell could help a lot of teams, Welsh. Certainly, some teams like the Red Sox. I would think that the Houston Astros, on Snell. Snell, I think, is the way he's pitching his last couple starts could be a huge game changer for a rotation because I think he's finally right after all these many months of being wrong. He just looks like the guy who won a Cy Young. So I think now's the time. And we knew it was going to be a rocky road, and it has been, but now he looks finally like himself. And I think that could be a huge difference maker down the stretch for a team.
I think there was a report that was even saying these last 3 starts, seeing that he does look right is the reason why that market has picked up so much. He's had, looks like 15 strikeouts over his last 3 starts. He's gone 5 through the last 3. He's still having a little bit of a walk thing, but we also know that about Snell, that he is like a controlled chaos type of guy. Like he's not afraid to walk players to kind of just maintain his game. Yeah,
like Snell and I are a lot of controlled chaos. Yeah.
We're kind of I'm kind of an outwardly chaos type of guy.
You're more out. I'm more controlled chaos. That's what I am.
Yeah, exactly.
A cool guy. Clayton Kershaw was back. 6 Ks for him in 4 innings. Good start against the Giants. And Max Scherzer, who was apparently dealing with some arm fatigue and some issues. Well, 9 strikeouts later in 6 innings. Pretty good for the Rangers to get the win, although it was against the White Sox. Here's some fun things. There's been 2 guys who've been absolutely crushing life for the last month.
Yep.
Lawrence Butler, who had another 2-run home run yesterday, and Taj Bradley, another 6 innings, struck out 7 guys. How good have these guys been? Well, in the last 30 days, Lawrence Butler slashed 408, 462, 930 with a 1392 OPS. That's how good he's been. And then on the pitching side, in the last 30 days, for Taj Bradley, in 5 starts, a .20 ERA, 4 wins, 31 innings, 36 strikeouts, 9 walks, .79 whip. Butler made an adjustment with his hitting coach about keeping his head still, and it's something I actually saw a little breakdown of, and it was really interesting, and you could see how much he is doing that now, and my God, what a difference it has made. Like, this is a strong, athletic kid, and if he can harness that athleticism with good baseball fundamentals, all of a sudden Lawrence Butler is not a flash in the pan here this month, if this is something we can, start to watch the development of a kid at the major leagues. And then Bradley, another guy, talk about night and day. Last year, it was a complete disaster. He was rushed to the major leagues because of injuries. And this year, he is looking like, oh my God, him, Springs next year, along with McClanahan potentially in that rotation. The Rays are going to be back in a big way next year.
Yeah, on Butler real quick, it's interesting. Bring up BT Fouts' kind of snarky comment. It's not at us, but it's just at Life, saying, I love how nobody's talked about Butler until he's over 75% rostered. I actually think that's an interesting thing because, I brought up Butler yesterday, and on ITL, I was talking about him last week. But
I think we talked about Butler a couple weeks ago, and I think the answer was the same thing, which was, yeah, this kid's had some struggles in the minor leagues, and just like Rhys Hines, we were saying, look, this kid's, maybe not, you got to take the grain of salt with a hot week.
Yeah, but not me. I mean, let's sit in BT Fouts' snark for a second. In that, you're not wrong. You're not wrong that like specifically me, I was discounting him a bit, and I wanted Jacob Wilson over him 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. But one of the things that I've kind of come to terms with too is he's been an A, and I don't want to put big markers on A's players, even though they've been really good. But there has been something at the major league level as far as what they're doing with the hitting coaches, like you're talking about, keeping your head straight. This isn't just Butler. It's been Brent Rooker this entire year. We've seen Geloff have the flashes. Abraham Toro was one of the leaders in hard hit and barrel percentage earlier in the year. What they're doing, and this is not something that I caught on to early enough to be like, oh, we do need to click on those, that they are doing something at the major league level that is activating a lot of these superpowers from these guys. And Lawrence Butler, you're seeing it. You're seeing 52% hard hit rate paired with a 12% barrel rate. Those are phenomenal. I'm going to love those every time. Also in it, he's got an almost 75 mile per hour swing on the bat speed. 75, it's 74.7, which is way above average. So you got this fast swing for this guy that is keeping it all in line. Good barrel, good hard hit, and expected batting average that is actually better than it currently is. All of those things have like activated and locked, and he's becoming this really, really great player with all those tools. Yeah. But I was dismissive of it simply because of the organization, and it's like what run support's out there in the A's. But it took me too long, not about Butler, but to connect that, the A's are actually doing something developmentally great at the major league level. And they have activated these guys of like Abraham Toro, Lawrence Butler. Those were just not big dudes. So if he's out there, Schumann is another one of those. Lawrence Butler 100% should be owned if he's not already owned. And we were talking about that as a replacement to Yelich yesterday.
Yeah. Yelich, more to come on that too. Also fun, James Paxton got picked up by the Red Sox. So there you go. Going back to Boston again. James Paxton, journeyman. I don't know what the Dodgers are doing getting rid of starting pitchers. I don't understand it at all. They need starting pitchers like
I don't know if they need Paxton. They might need pitchers, but not Paxton.
Why? Paxton has been, at least he's been there. At least he's made the starts. I mean, look, I'm not saying James Paxton's the greatest thing ever, but I mean, at least he's been present for all of his starts, which is not something I guess we all thought would happen. What are the, what's the, now that you've sullied his name, what are the stats on Paxton?
4.43 ERA, a worse expected ERA, career low strikeout percentage, one of the career worst walk percentage, 12.3. That's one of the worst in the majors. That's equivalent to AJ Puck as a starter. He's giving up some really bad hard hit numbers, but he has put up a bunch of innings. 8.9, but he's got a 1.46 whip, and he has an 8-2 record because he was a Dodger.
Right,
like
1.46, 4.6. It's
okay.
So
that's a good fifth starter who you're trying to replace.
I guess the thing is he's taking the ball and he's giving him innings, and I think that's what they've needed so far. But again, we'll see what happens there.
Depth.
All right, let's do a little up and down here. 3 up, Lindor. How about those Mets, Welsh? 2-run homer Thursday. Extra inning win over the Braves.
I think they said they're buyers now. I think they even made a statement that they're not gonna sell, that they're gonna go buy stuff now. That's how fun is that? Window shop.
Yeah, sure. Great. We'll see.
Who would you like them to buy? Who's on your buy list?
I don't see. That's the thing. I mean, they're getting Senga back today.
Go get Snell. Oh my God, go get Snell. Put him with Senga. What an epic, awesome disaster that could be, or greatness.
I don't know. Snell isn't Met. Maybe he's the exact goofball they need. I don't know. Chris Sale, 9 strikeouts, 2 runs in that same game. Unfortunately, no decision for him. Brendan Lau, 4 for 4 with a homer and 3 ribbies, 3 down. Kenny Rosenberg, 3 and a third inning, 6 runs. Logan Webb, 4 runs in 5 innings. And Riley Green, 0 for 4. Not a good day against the Guardians. Injuries, a lot to get to here. Ken Rosenthal, speaking of Christian Yelich, apparently he's going to rest in rehab instead of undergoing the season-ending surgery. So, Welsh, I know you guys talked a lot about the Yelich thing yesterday. This is always the looming thing when it comes to Yelich every single year, is he has a chronic back issue, and 162 games is a very long season. And I think at this point, season long, I get it. When you're in a season long roto league, I understand. Well, Yelich can give you maybe 100 games or 120 games, whatever it is, but he's just a guy that every year is a pass for me because of this chronic issue that I think is just always going to be now just part of it. And you're going to get incomplete seasons, and you're going to get good stretches and bad stretches. And I just don't want to spend my fantasy dollar that way. But where are you at long-term with Yelich too? Because from a dynasty perspective now, this is really hurting. I mean, if you sold him early, you did well, but now you're kind of stuck. And I don't know what the value is in dynasty going forward for him.
I think it's a little bit worse than it was in the preseason. I'd have to go look at my dynasty ranks where I have him, but like I put him in that outside the top 50, probably outside the top 75. It's like a mini Trout. It's not quite as Trout-esque. And obviously Yelich has the stolen bases that are going to be tagged on along with it, but it is Trout-esque in that it's like, that there's going to be injuries that are going to take him away. You try to presume that it's going to be not as dramatic as Trout, but he's probably going to miss the rest of the year. I mean, he's going to rehab it. Maybe he gets back. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think the dynasty value definitely took a hit after having a really, really good run in performance early in the year. But that's why it's Trout-esque. When Trout is out there, he performs really well. Yelich is doing the same thing, but they can't stay out there right now.
What's out there for the Brewers? I mean, look, Churio's hitting now. That's great.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you lose Yelich now. This is really tough. No Burns, no Yelich. You're at the top of these standings. I mean, Brewers fans must be going crazy right now, thinking like what might have been if they just kind of held things together a little bit longer. But I don't know where you go from here.
So I think, actually, ironically, Austin Hayes would have been a great, like, hey, we're just going to like trade nothing to have more depth. They do have Garrett Mitchell. They do have Sal Frelick to help out if they want to do that. I did the ITL thing 2 days ago, Joe, where we were putting players on teams, and I know it hasn't scouted, but I think Jazz Chisholm would have made a lot of sense. Jazz could get out there in the outfield. You could have control. It still might. You would have control over him. I think they're going to just either stand pat with the outfield they have and hope Yelich gets back, or it's going to be, I think the injury will be very telling if they go and acquire, it would have been a Randy, or they acquire a Jazz or some type of a impact.
What about Lane Thomas from Washington?
That'd be a fantastic one as well. If they were to go and get a Lane Thomas, I think that tells you where the Yelich thing is. I'm assuming you're just not going to have Yelich this year. So if they're going to keep this,
like Rooker, it's Lane Thomas. Like those are the names that keep popping into.
But the problem is they need pitching help. I mean, the best thing they could do if they could go do the Crochet and Robert thing, that would be the greatest thing of all time. But you'd have to absolutely unload your system.
But do they have the system worthy of unloading for those two guys?
They've got guys.
The Baltimore Orioles.
Jacob Mizorowski, Brock Wilken, Cooper Pratt. I mean, you could definitely base like a trade around that. They've got other guys, but that's kind of like the upper core. And they've got Jefferson Cuero, Luis Lara. They have guys. They've got guys that are. That could front line, and like Jacob Mizorowski and a Garrett Crochet trade would make a lot of sense. I just don't know, like, what do the White Sox want? Do they want 5 prospects that are all top 100? Then no, they couldn't.
You want a lot. You want bulk and quality. You want everything. If you're the White Sox, this is your chance. You can't screw this up because they need a complete remake. They're going to be bad for the next 3 to 5 years. Like, and that's not being hyperbolic. They're going to be bad for the next 3 to 5 years, no matter what. So you might as well get quality and a lot of it. And these are your 2 chips. You've got some big chips.
How funny, though.
You've got to be selling to the Orioles or the Yankees or the Dodgers. You got to be getting some of these big-time prospects.
How funny would it be, though, if the Brewers went and got a Garrett Crochet, and then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to pitch in the playoffs until you get a contract extension. And then they wouldn't get the contract to Burns. Well, Burns don't want to come back either. So.
See, that's why I keep saying that Crochet to the Orioles makes the most sense, because the Orioles this is their window. They have the money to spend on him. That's a 3-man rotation that's going to be very formidable in the next couple of years. And they can move a Jackson Holiday and a Kobe Mayo and not skip a beat at their major league level like for years. I mean, that's the thing. Like, they could pull that off, and that helps everybody. I think the Orioles are the team to beat out for Crochet at this point. To me, it makes the most sense for both teams. We'll see if I'm right next week or even today. Who knows? Mason Miller, he won't be pitching today on the IL with a left pinky finger broken. He fractured it.
He got mad.
He fractured his pinky.
He got mad. He punched something.
He punched the trainer's table, and now he's mad. Devin Williams struck out 2 in a hitless rehab start at AAA. The Twins are activating Royce Lewis today, and he's hurt again. Jeffrey Springs struck out 4, 3 earned in 5 innings, so he's working his way back in AAA. Mike Trout is undergoing further evaluation in Los Angeles. And, of course, Michael Harris resuming baseball activities.
But they said that he felt some soreness through running, and that's why they put him on the 60-day IL. So he is not eligible to come back until August 14th. And we now know that was because of some of the lingering soreness or discomfort.
You talking about Trout, or are you talking about Harris now?
Michael Harris. This is Michael Harris. So discomfort August 14th because he's on the 60-day IL, and hopefully that doesn't lead over and end Michael Harris's season, whatever this discomfort is.
Well, is she excited about Kodai Senga tonight?
You get very excited.
Oh,
I wanted to, but the K prop is a little bit high.
Oh, well, speaking of props, let's get to the best bets
of the day
with Joey P and the Welsh. Make sure you place your bets at bet365. Bet $5, get 150 in bonus bets when you use the promo code leading off only at bet365. And don't forget, if you have a gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms and conditions apply. I'm going to go right to Taj Bradley from yesterday. It was a good one from Joe Rico. I'm going to keep going there and put my faith in another pitcher. This one's going to be Pablo Lopez of the Minnesota Twins on the run line, -1.5 plus 100 against Detroit today. So give me Pablo Lopez. We've been saying all year he's been pitching better than the ERA. He deserves better. Royce Lewis back tonight in the lineup. I'm feeling the Twinkies. Let's lock it in on plus money, -1.5 on the run line. Give me Baltimore on the run line too, -1.5 against San Diego. That's at -105. But you can also put Gunnar Henderson total bases at -108 with it and get just about 2-1. So Gunnar Henderson over 1.5 total bases, and then the run line for the Twinkies and the Orioles. Welsh, what do you have for the people on a fun Friday?
All right, well, let's see if we can make it fun. I'm going to go Cincinnati first 5 money line. Nick Lodolo, -115. You can find that at. So just give me a little lead, Nick Lodolo. So Cincinnati first 5 money line. I'm also going to go at Elly De La Cruz. There's a part of me that's like, how long can he keep doing this? But it's a pretty good matchup today. I know Shane Baz is coming up. Shane Baz had some decent results so far in the minors. There's been a little bit of wonkiness. Strikeouts haven't quite been there. And Elly has got like 5 or 6 straight games with 2 total bases. I'm tackling the 1.5 total base over. It's +115 again today. Baz gives up like 54.5. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, but he gives up some of the most contact. That's not the way to say it, but the contact rate on 95 plus is one of the highest against Shane Baz, and that works really well for a guy like Elly De La Cruz. So there's a way to say it. And then finally, I'm going to go with a nerfy. Give me St. Louis and Washington. Washington's the worst first inning scoring team. They have got Mackenzie Gorup, and St. Louis has got Sonny Gray. The Cardinals have been like top 15, and they are pretty decent at home, but over the last 3, they haven't been scoring in the first inning. So no run first inning, St. Louis, Washington. Those be some of the bets. I very much like your Minnesota bet as well. Just wanted to say.
Yeah, the return of Royce Lewis. Just go right in for a Royce Lewis home run prop too. Might as well, right? I mean, that's what he does. Royce Lewis is playing ball. Get all those home runs in before it's too late, my friends. And those are the best bets of the day. Download the Betting Pros app. Start betting smarter, not harder. All right, Welsh, home runs for the weekend. I'm just going to keep it simple. Going with Shohei Ohtani for the weekend. Old-fashioned Shohei Ohtani, and see if I can climb back up that board here, because I am literally, again, hanging by the thread. Wonky Penguins on the board. Elskell still at the top. Welsh, where are you going for your home run call for the weekend?
Give me Elly. I'm going to go with my total base guy. Give me the Ellys. I wanted to go Gunnar. Gunnar will probably hit 3 homers today or something like that. He's been on kind of a cold spell. It is a good matchup. I liked your total base marker there, but I'm going to go with Elly De La Cruz for a homer through the weekend, but maybe I'll change it because guess what? I can do it because I'm in the Discord, FantasyPros.com/chat, and you can get right into the Discord, and there's a home run call room, so I can make my change every single day of the weekend if I want to, but otherwise it is Elly until told otherwise.
There you go. I'm thinking we're going to get more trades this weekend, Welsh, and Monday when we come back here, and we will be live, Welsh and myself, next Monday. We'll have more trades to talk about. I feel that way. And I am going to stay steadfast that Crochet and the Orioles just makes the most sense for everybody. I don't think, the Orioles are so deep with infield prospects, and I feel like that's kind of where the Detroit Tigers already are good. I don't know if that's the place to go, but I could see a Kobe Mayo, Povich, Connor Norby for Garrett Crochet deal, and I think that's a pretty good deal for everybody.
Run it by me again. It's Connor
Mayo, Norby, Povich for Crochet. I think that's a win for everybody, and you extend Crochet immediately.
I do think there's even more of a chance that maybe Jackson Holiday is the guy that gets moved. Jordan Westberg can be their future second baseman. They've got their future shortstop. The corner infields can be manned by Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo. I think it kind of makes sense.
Well, Mayo's going in that deal that way.
No, I understand that, but that's why I'm saying I think my version of that, I might send Jackson Holiday, Connor Norby, and like a Povich. So I'm going to swap those out because I just don't think Tarek Skubal's getting moved. And I do think once they've moved off, I think once the Orioles have moved off of Skubal, they are going to turn their sights to a guy like,
because you already got Colt Keith. You've got Torkelson. You don't want to give up on quite yet. I don't think. Like I'm looking around there. Like, I don't know. I just don't think they're a good match. I do, however, think the White Sox are an excellent match on terms. They need everything. So it's just time to just bring in that piece.
And as I mentioned before, this thing kind of that was going around after they drafted Hagen Smith, that might have been a completion for this team to look at their future rotation, the White Sox, that is, where they've got Drew Thorpe, they've got Jairo Iriarty, they've got guys like Nick Nastrini, and then they drafted their future ace in Hagen Smith. So now when you go out and you trade, and all these trades they've been doing in the rebuild have been around pitching, now you go out and trade Garrett Crochet, build up your hitters, get some more of those guys. And if you can get 2 of those top like 4 prospects from the Orioles, it's a huge win, even if it's a Cowser, but you got to get one of Mayo or Holiday, and it really will be part of their big rebuild.
Well, if you end up with Crochet pitching into the postseason this year, is he a guy that scares you in 2025 because of the workload?
I mean, I think he's a little bit scary.
Workload.
Yeah, but he's like relatively fresh off of his injury as well. He had, like, I think it was the Tommy John, because he was out for a year.
Tommy John, and look, he is a bigger kid. He's 6'6", like he's a big dude. So physically speaking, you would hope, but again, elbows are elbows at the end of the day.
But I just I don't think it's something that can, like, you like who are you picking and choosing that you're really not scared of?
I'm not saying to be scared. I'm saying that is, to make a leap of 80 innings over a previous high is a lot.
Well, that's why he wants a contract, by the way. I mean, that's the word. He's like, he said he will not pitch into the playoffs.
And good for him, show him the money. Like, I'm all about it. Here you go. Would you sign off on this deal for both teams? This is the mega deal. Robert and Crochet. You give Holiday, Kerstad, and Mayo. Would you sign up on that one?
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of my big things is, like, I think what any of the teams, whether it was the Tigers or the White Sox, they should hold pat and be like, we want Mayo and Holiday. And whatever you have to do to get Mayo and Holiday, that's what you do if you're going to make these moves. I just don't know the Orioles will make that push. It doesn't seem like I don't think they'll trade either one of them, to be honest.
I do. I think they will trade one of them. I think they'd want to trade Holiday, but I think they're going to have to trade Mayo. But they could get away with trading Holiday if it was to the White Sox. But the White Sox, where what you keep going wrong with the White Sox is you have to look for those big middle of the order guys that are going to be your franchise players now. You can't go. I remember Nick Madrigal. Remember they kept selling us that bill of goods that he was going to be a good baseball player. I was like,
Nick Madrigal.
Oh, I hated Nick Madrigal.
Well, because
they drafted him, it was terrible.
Little baby.
He is a little bit, but I'm just saying, like, those kind of guys, like, that's not going to. Not those guys at that high pick.
Well, those Orioles are not those guys. They're all 6'4". Yeah, I mean, it's Mayo and Kerstad and Cowser.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. I hope we have more of it to talk about. I love the trade deadlines. One of my favorite things. We'll see if I get dealt. Last year, I did get traded. We'll see how that goes.
Well, just to the football podcast, but
who's the player to be named later? But I did re-sign with baseball in the offseason.
Oh, good.
There you go. All right, that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For the Welsh, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Peace.
Wolverine.